Okay, you know that feeling. Like you're really trying to get something done. Maybe it's a big report. Or, I don't know, just finally tackling that inbox.
Mm.
And suddenly, ping, buzz. And you're like 3 hours deep in random internet stuff.
Oh, absolutely. The rabbit hole, it's real.
Yeah. And meanwhile, you see these people out there just crushing it, seemingly achieving so much. And you wonder how. What are they doing differently?
It's a super common frustration, I think, that feeling of being busy, constantly moving, but not actually productive, not making real progress.
Exactly. Well, we've been digging into some really interesting stuff this week, looking at how highly effective people work. And this one core idea kept popping up,
Okay.
something called deep work.
Hmm.
Now, maybe the people we looked at didn't use that specific label, but the principle, it's definitely there.
So what is it? Deep work.
It's basically about sustained, intense focus, like laser beam concentration, completely free from distractions. It's where your brain can actually do the heavy lifting, make those cognitive leaps.
Right. Focused intensity. That makes sense. Deliberately cutting out the noise so you can actually think.
Yeah. And this isn't just, some theory. It seems to be the foundation for a lot of high-quality output, a lot of innovation.
And for listeners, the point isn't just academic, right? It's about how they can maybe improve their own focus, learn faster, get more meaningful stuff done.
Totally. Because who doesn't want that? More
Yeah.
effectiveness, better learning, making a real impact.
Right.
So yeah, in this deep dive, we're going to unpack this whole deep work thing.
Okay.
We'll look at why it's so valuable, maybe more now than ever, and crucially, pull out some practical, actionable things people can try. Stuff based on how successful folks actually operate and what the research says.
And it really does feel like a skill that gives you an edge today. In this world, buzzing with shallow stuff, the ability to go deep, that's, well, pretty powerful.
Okay, so let's get into it. Why is this deep work thing so important? What's the big deal?
Well, think about someone like Carl Jung, the famous psychologist. Our sources mention he actually built this place, the Bollingen Tower, a personal retreat, specifically designed for deep, quiet thinking.
Right, like a dedicated focus zone.
Exactly. And yeah, it meant less time on his day-to-day stuff, his clinical practice. But the source says deep work was crucial for his goal of changing the world. He needed that space, that lack of interruption, for his big ideas.
That really lands. I mean, we all know environment matters for focus.
Yeah.
Having a specific place, even a small one, kind of signals focus time.
It does. It sends a message to your brain, maybe even to others around you. Then you've got, like, Bill Gates.
Oh, yeah, the think weeks.
Right. He'd deliberately go off-grid, basically. Twice a year, lakeside cottage, stacks of reading, just thinking. Big picture strategy.
Must have been intense.
Totally. And apparently it was during one of those weeks, way back in '95, he wrote that famous internet tidal wave memo.
Wow. The one that totally shifted Microsoft's direction.
That's the one. A huge strategic pivot born directly out of that dedicated deep work time. It shows that even periodic focused retreat can yield massive results.
It really highlights the power of stepping away from the daily churn to think strategically.
Now, compare that. Jung's Tower, Gates's Think Weeks. Compare that to the typical workday for many of us now.
Uh-oh. I have a feeling I know where this is going.
Well, there was a McKinsey study, maybe a few years old now, but probably still relevant. It found the average knowledge worker spent something like 60% of their week just on electronic communication and web searching.
60%? Seriously?
Yeah. And almost 30% just on email. That's
Yeah.
a lot of fragmented attention. Think about your own week. How much is truly focused creation versus just reacting?
Oof, yeah, that's uncomfortably familiar. That feeling of just putting out fires, reacting constantly rather than, building something.
Exactly. And that fragmentation is the absolute enemy of depth work. There's a great quote from the author Neil Stephenson. He basically says, give him big, unbroken chunks of time. He can write novels. Give him fractured time, constantly interrupted. All he produces is email.
Yeah, that sums it up perfectly. It feels like we trade substance for responsiveness sometimes.
We often do. And this shift has real consequences. Eric Barker calls deep work the superpower of the 21st century.
A superpower. Why?
Because it's getting rarer. The ability to focus intensely, learn complex things quickly, perform at a high level, these are products of deep work. And they're the skills that are becoming incredibly valuable in our economy precisely because so many people struggle to cultivate them.
Thinking about my own past,
Yeah.
the times I felt most productive, like getting books done, finishing my PhD, getting tenure,
Yeah.
It was always when I deliberately carved out those focus blocks,
Yeah.
like really guarded that time. And interestingly, I rarely worked crazy late hours, like past 5 or 6.
Right, so it wasn't about more hours, it was about the intensity of those hours.
Exactly. It shows that prioritizing depth can actually lead to huge output without necessarily burning you out completely.
That's a perfect example. It really drives home that this isn't just theory. It makes a tangible difference.
Okay, so we get why it's valuable, but you mentioned it's getting rarer. Why is that? Why is it so hard to do deep work now?
Well, there are some pretty big trends working against us. Open offices, for instance.
Ah, yes. The bane of concentration for many.
Right. Often sold as collaborative, but the reality is often, as the source puts it, massive distraction. Neuroscientists point out that even just background chatter can disrupt our focus, even if we don't consciously notice it.
Oh, I notice it. It feels impossible sometimes to just think your own thoughts when you're surrounded by noise and movement.
Totally. And then there's the whole social media pressure, especially for certain professions like writers or creators.
The need to be constantly on, constantly visible.
Yeah. George Packer, the writer, apparently called Twitter crack for media addicts. He actively avoided it because he felt it would just shatter his focus needed for long-form writing.
And he won awards for books written while avoiding it, right?
Yeah. Exactly. It highlights that trade-off. Constant online presence versus the capacity for deep, meaningful creation.
The tough balance.
Yeah.
You feel you have to be online, but it drains the very focus you need to do good work.
And another big factor is something the text calls busyness as proxy for productivity.
Meaning, looking busy is mistaken for actually being productive.
Pretty much. In jobs where it's hard to measure output directly, people often default to visible activity. Sending lots of emails, being in lots of meetings. It looks like work.
The performance of work.
Exactly. But it doesn't necessarily mean valuable work is getting done. You end the day exhausted, but can't point to much real progress.
Oh, definitely felt that. The hamster wheel of emails and meetings.
Right. And finally, there's what the source calls the cult of the internet. This sort of unquestioned belief that anything internet-related is good, necessary, modern.
Even when it's maybe.
Even when it actively distracts. The example given is a refrigerated shipping company putting "like us" on Facebook on their trucks.
Wait, really? A
Yeah.
shipping company?
Yeah. It's kind of absurd, but it shows this default assumption. Gotta be online, gotta have the presence, even if it makes zero sense for the actual business or distracts from core work.
Like, we're just conditioned to think connectivity equals value, no questions asked.
Pretty much, it pulls us away from the deeper stuff.
Okay, so the modern world is kind of set up to undermine deep work. How do we fight back? What are the practical strategies? Let's get into the how-to.
All right. The first big thing is realizing that just trying to squeeze in deep work whenever you feel like it usually doesn't work. Willpower runs out.
Right. You need a plan, a structure.
Exactly. The text outlines 4 main philosophies or approaches to integrating deep work. Think of them as overarching strategies.
Okay, 4 philosophies. What are they?
First is the monastic approach.
Monastic. Sounds intense. Like a monk in a cave.
It kind of is. It involves almost completely eliminating or radically minimizing shallow obligations. Think Donald Knuth, the computer scientist, or Neil Stephenson, the author, and notoriously hard to reach.
Total focus, minimal distraction.
Maximum focus. The goal is long, uninterrupted stretches. The trade-off, obviously, is you're pretty inaccessible. Probably not practical for most people.
Yeah, most jobs require some interaction. What's next?
The bimodal approach. This is more about dividing your time clearly. You have dedicated long stretches purely for deep work, maybe days or weeks.
Like Jung's retreats or Gates's think weeks.
Exactly. And then you have other periods where you're fully engaged in the more shallow, normal stuff. Adam Grant, the professor, does this by batching his teaching into one semester to free up others for research.
So clear boundaries between deep work time and everything else time. That seems more doable.
For many, yes. The key is that those deep work times are well-defined and protected. Then there's the rhythmic philosophy.
Rhythmic, like a daily beat.
Precisely. This is about making deep work a regular, consistent habit. Like Jerry Seinfeld's famous "don't break the chain" method for writing jokes every single day.
The power of habit.
Exactly. You build it into your routine, maybe a specific 90-minute block every morning. It becomes automatic, less reliant on sheer willpower each time.
I like that. Turning it into a reflex.
And the last one is the journalistic approach.
Journalistic, like fitting it in whenever there's breaking news.
Sort of. It's about being able to switch into deep work mode quickly whenever you find an unexpected pocket of free time. Walter Isaacson apparently wrote a huge biography this way, grabbing 20 minutes here, an hour there, amidst his busy journalism career.
That takes serious mental discipline, I imagine, to just drop into deep focus on demand.
It does. It requires practice. But it's great for people with unpredictable schedules. The
Mm.
main point is you got to pick a philosophy that actually fits your life and work. There's no single right answer.
Right. Choose your weapon, basically.
Bro.
Okay, so that's the overall approach. What about specific tactics? Day-to-day stuff.
Okay, one cool idea is making grand gestures.
Grand gestures, like proposing to your work.
Huh. Not quite. It means making a significant visible change to support your deep work, like J.K. Rowling renting that hotel suite to finish Harry Potter.
Ah, okay. A big commitment to signal this is serious focus time.
Exactly. It creates psychological weight. For most of us, it might just mean setting up a dedicated deep work sanctuary, a specific desk, a quiet room, maybe even just noise-canceling headphones, and a clear sign, a place solely for focused work.
Creating that intentional space. Makes sense.
Another point, maybe a bit surprising, is don't work alone, strategically.
Wait, I thought deep work was about avoiding distractions, including people.
Often, yes, but strategic collaboration can actually push your thinking deeper. Think of the whiteboard effect.
Bouncing ideas off someone.
Right, like Bratton and Bardeen working intensely together on the transistor. A focused back-and-forth discussion with someone knowledgeable can spark insights you wouldn't reach alone. The key is strategic and focused collaboration, not just casual chat.
Got it. Collaboration is a tool for depth, not just a source of interruption.
Precisely. Then there's this framework called the 4 Disciplines of Execution, or
Sure.
40X.
40X.
Sounds official. It's a system for actually achieving big goals, which often rely on deep work. First, discipline. Focus on the wildly important,
Wildly important.
meaning pick just 1 or 2 critical goals. Don't spread your deep work too thin. What truly matters most, focus your best energy there.
Okay, narrow the focus makes sense. What's 2?
Act on lead measures. Focus on the actions you control that drive the goal, not just the end result, which is a lag measure.
So for deep work, a lead measure would be
Hours spent in focused deep work sessions. That's something you can directly track and influence. Tracking deep work hours is more actionable than just hoping the project gets finished.
right. Focus on the process, the input. Okay, 3.
Keep a compelling scoreboard. Make your progress visible. Track those lead measures like your deep work hours somewhere you can see them easily. A simple chart, a tally mark.
Like the author's example of marking hours on cardstock.
Exactly. That visual feedback creates motivation and keeps you honest.
Visual progress. I can see how that helps. And 4.
Create a cadence of accountability. Regularly check in on your progress. A quick weekly review. How did I do on my lead measures? What adjustments do I need to make for next week? Keeps you on track.
So 40X is like a structured system for making deep work actually deliver on important goals. Focus, action, scoreboard, accountability.
You got it. Now here's one that sounds really nice. Be lazy strategically.
Be lazy. Sign me up. What does that mean?
It means recognizing that regular downtime, real shutdown time away from work, is crucial for high-level thinking. It's Kreider's idleness paradox.
Idleness helps productivity. How?
Well, science backs it up. Attention restoration theory says your brain recovers from fatigue when you're not forcing focus. And unconscious thought theory suggests your brain keeps working on problems in the background, often leading to insights when you're relaxed.
Ah, the shower epiphany.
Exactly. Or the idea that pops up on a walk. Your brain needs that downtime to consolidate and connect things. That Dijkster-Hu's car experiment showed people made better complex decisions after distraction.
So stepping away isn't slacking, it's essential processing time.
Yes. And to make this happen, the text strongly recommends a shutdown ritual.
A ritual to end the workday.
Yeah, a consistent routine. Review tasks, make a plan for tomorrow, then consciously declare work done for the day. Maybe even say a phrase like, shutdown complete.
Why the ritual?
It combats the Zeigarnik effect, that thing where unfinished tasks keep nagging at your brain. Planning for them signals completion to your mind, letting you actually relax, like that consider it done study showed.
Makes sense. Creates a clear mental boundary.
Crucial. And linked to this is the need to actively practice deep work. Concentration is a skill. You have to train it like a muscle.
It doesn't just happen.
Nope. Adam Marlin's early morning focus practice is an example. And Clifford Nass's research showed chronic multitaskers actually become worse at filtering out irrelevant stuff. They damage their ability to focus.
Wow, so multitasking literally rewires your brain for distraction.
Seems like it. which means we have to resist filling every idle moment with our phones. That constant switching trains our brain away from sustained
We have
focus.
to put the phone down sometimes.
Definitely. The text mentions things like internet Sabbaths, but cautions that occasional breaks aren't enough. It suggests scheduling specific internet blocks and being strict about staying offline outside those times. Maybe use a notepad to jot down things to look up later.
Actively training your resistance to distraction.
Yes. And another training technique is meditate productively.
Productive meditation,
Yeah.
not just clearing the mind.
Right. This is about focusing your attention on a specific professional problem while you're doing something physically automatic like walking, driving, showering.
Using that mind-wandering time intentionally.
Exactly. It builds your concentration muscle. The key is to structure it a bit, review the variables, define the next step or question to avoid just looping endlessly.
Interesting. Turning commute time into thinking time. And then there's the memorizing cards thing.
Huh. Yeah, memorize a deck of cards. Sounds weird, but the point isn't really the cards.
Okay.
It's that memory training, like using the memory palace technique, is incredibly effective exercise for your attentional control, strengthening your ability to hold focus. Research backs this up.
So memory tricks is brain gym for focus.
Clever.
Then there's the principle of least resistance. Basically, without clear goals, we default to what's easiest and most available, usually email, social media, etc.
The path of least resistance leads to distraction.
Often, yes. So the advice is to adopt a craftsman approach to tool selection. Be really deliberate about the tools you use.
Like the farmer deciding on the right hay baler.
Exactly. Ask, does this tool significantly benefit my core important work? Weigh the pros against the cons, including the huge con of distraction and lost focus time.
Be intentional about your tech and apps.
Very intentional. Define your main goals first, then pick tools that truly serve them. The 30-day rule is great here.
Try living without a new tool for 30 days. Yeah. Then ask honestly, was my work or life significantly worse? Often you find you didn't really need it. Cuts through the hype.
I like that, a practical filter.
And this focus extends beyond work. Transforms shallow into deep leisure.
Deep leisure. What's that? No mindless scrolling.
Pretty much. Instead of passive, distracting entertainment, engage in structured, high-quality activities in your free time. Arnold Bennett's day within a day idea.
Using free time intentionally for growth or engaging hobbies.
Exactly. Pre-plan leisure. Read challenging books, learn an instrument, build something, activities that require focus and skill rather than just consuming low-effort media. It's more restorative.
Interesting. Make leisure active, not just passive.
Right. Back to work, there's the shallows budget, acknowledging you only have a limited capacity for true deep work each day.
How much?
Maybe around 4 hours for experts, the text suggests, citing studies on elite performers like violinists.
It's only 4 hours. That seems low.
4 hours of peak, intense, focused work. It's mentally demanding. The point is, be realistic. Your whole day can easily get filled with shallow stuff meetings, email, admin.
Eating up that potential deep work time.
Exactly. So treat shallow work with suspicion. Schedule it, contain it, don't let it bleed everywhere, and crowd out the deep stuff.
Budget your shallowness. Protect the depth.
You got it. And a powerful way to enforce this is fixed schedule productivity.
Setting firm start and end times for work.
Yes. Say 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. sharp, no working late. This creates scarcity. You have to prioritize ruthlessly. You get better at saying no to shallow things because you literally don't have time.
Forces efficiency and focus within those fixed hours.
Right. And you often find that not everything needs an instant response after all.
Liberating, potentially. And finally,
Strategies to become hard to reach. Actively manage communication to protect your focus.
like putting up a digital do not disturb.
Sort of. It includes things like sender filtering, setting up rules so unimportant emails don't even hit your main inbox if your role allows, making it harder for non-essential stuff to reach you.
Taking control of the inflow.
Yeah. Also, do more work when you send or reply to emails. Write clearer, more comprehensive messages to prevent endless back-and-forth chains. Answer all potential questions up front.
Reduce the email ping pong.
Exactly. And perhaps the boldest, don't respond strategically.
Yes, ignore emails.
If they're ambiguous, irrelevant, or not serving your important goals, maybe, yes. Except that you don't have to reply to everything. As Tim Ferriss said, let small bad things happen sometimes so you have time for the big, important things.
Wow. That requires some confidence, but I can see how it protects focus.
It's about setting boundaries to reclaim your attention.
Okay, wow. We have covered a ton of ground here.
Hmm.
from the why to the how. If you had to boil it down, what are the absolute key takeaways for someone listening right now?
I think the core message is prioritizing and, yeah, fiercely protecting time for focused, deep work. It's not just a nice to have, it's pretty much essential for doing meaningful work, for real learning, and honestly, for thriving in this crazy, distracted world.
And it's not about just grinding out more hours.
Definitely not. It's about the quality and depth of focus during the hours you do work, working deeper, not just longer.
And it's clear this isn't something you just switch on. It takes practice, right? Building that mental muscle, making conscious choices about your attention.
Absolutely. It's an ongoing skill development, like learning anything worthwhile. So, for everyone listening, maybe just pick one thing, one strategy we talked about that resonated.
Just start with one.
Yeah, pick one thing you can try this week. Maybe it's scheduling one deep work block, or setting up a shutdown ritual, or trying that 30-day rule on some app. Small steps build momentum.
That makes it less daunting. So
Yeah.
the big question to leave people with is maybe in this world, screaming for your attention every second, what truly deserves your deep focus?
That's a powerful question to reflect on. What really matters enough to give it that level of intense, undistracted attention?
Yeah. Well, hopefully this deep dive gave everyone some good food for thought and more importantly, some practical tools to start reclaiming that focus.
We hope so. And we genuinely love to hear how it goes if people try some of these things. What works, what's challenging? Maybe we can revisit this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us for this exploration into deep work. Until next time, focus well.